Your weakest link on your offensive line cannot be an Achilles heel. He can be a bruise, but he can't be an Achilles heel. And the reason is, by definition, a functional offensive line means that you can use your entire playbook at any time during the game, and you don't have to be afraid to call a particular play. When your line is not functional, when you have holes in your line, when you have an Achilles heel in your line, basically that means your offensive coordinator is going to have to take certain pages and chapters out of his playbook and say, you know what? We can't run these because we don't have functional players capable of succeeding on that play. It's not simple, fellas. It's really not hard.
And when you have to put an extra tight end to help out, don't mean to harp on Evan Neal, but when you have to put an extra tight end to help out on Evan Neal and chip on every play, that's taking somebody away from the weapons that you could put on the field. So now you
Absolutely.
only have 3 weapons to go against 7 in coverage because they're still getting in there like it's a blitz with only 4, and you actually got 6 people blocking. And so,
look, any defensive coordinator will tell you if they know you have a hole. Parcells used to call it the weakest link on your line. Your weakest link can't be broken. Okay? If your weakest link is broken, the defensive coordinator will salivate and will attack that weakest link at every key moment of the game. Not to mention, to be perfectly frank with you, many times, if you have a weakest link, it's also telegraphing your plays because defensive coordinators are studying and they know, guess what? They can't use chapters 5 and 6 out of their playbook because that guy can't run the play.
exactly.
Paul, I got a question for you. What do you feel? How do you feel about Josh Azudu now? Because looking at the tackle
Good
depth
question.
now, at being at that Evan Neal was hurt. I mean, it looks like he's going to be the backup tackle. Until Neal gets healthy. How do you feel? Do you feel comfortable with Illuminor, them using Illuminor at tackle at the tackle spot, or do you think they feel like they need to go out and get more depth there?
Well, if you look, Matt Nelson was also signed as a swing tackle from the Detroit Lions. And I've been saying on the show, I don't think they should just give him that third tackle spot. I think Illuminor is best suited to be the third tackle. Of course, if you have to move him out there, which is what the Giants have said they would have to plan to do, that now opens up another spot because now you have to fill his left guard spot. And we know Aaron Stinney, according to what Shane and Dable said today, he's next up at left guard. I hate when that happens because it's now 2 spots in one swing of the bat that have to be changed. No coach really wants to do that, but sometimes out of necessity, you're forced to do it. To your question about Azudu came out of school a year too early. Okay? When he was at North Carolina, he was utilized at 4 of the 5 offensive line positions. There were times that he actually played multiple positions within the same game. I think that hindered his development while he was in college because he was one of those guys who could play a bunch of positions, but was a master of none.
Jack of all trades, master of none. Yeah,
I
makes
think
sense.
it was a detriment to him. Now, I had an independent scout talk to me when he had scouted Azudu. And he said to me, if that kid stays in school for another year and is allowed to just play guard for 1 more year in school, and they let him polish up his skills in one spot, he'll be a 2nd-round draft choice. He's that good. Okay? He's got athleticism. His feet are really good.
Yep, I always say quick feet.
He's got a boxcar a frame. So there's a lot to like with the Azudu, skill set wise. But the problem was he never was able to polish up one position because the line at North Carolina was not very good. So they plugged him all everywhere.
I'm a Carolina fan. Yeah, I know.
You know. You
yeah.
know. Okay. So he gets to the Giants. He comes out a year early. because of two reasons. Number one, he was of the belief that if he stayed at North Carolina, they would keep bouncing him around out of necessity because the line was not going to be very good had he stayed the following season. Can you confirm that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So that's the first reason he came out early. The second reason was obviously the lure of a nice pro paycheck. So the Giants take him in the third round, which is a very nice, respectable round, obviously. And he gets a nice paycheck and he comes in and he's raw. Okay. He's raw. And what happens? He gets nicked up. He gets forced into, again, being a versatile, fix-it, jack of all trades kind of guy. I mean, we even saw him play some left tackle last year.
Yep, in the Cardinals game.
That was not good either.
All right, okay, but he wasn't prepared for that. He really wasn't. He was he is such a good kid. He loves to be a good teammate. He will do anything to help the team. And so for the good of the team, he did everything they asked. And even if it was to his own career detriment, he played anywhere and any place they asked him to play at any time, even though he wasn't fully prepared.
To his own detriment. Yeah.
Okay? So I look at that guy and I say to myself, wow, I really hope that A, he's healthy. Okay, number one, I hope that he's fully healthy. And B, they can focus on one spot. And at this point, it seems like they want to focus on making him a swing tackle. As opposed to a guard. Well, fine. If that's what they're going to do, I applaud Coach Priscillo for trying to narrow his focus so that they can polish him up and make him prepared.
Keep him there so he can get the reps and get the technique and everything down.
Exactly. Now, I personally believe he would be a better guard myself. I personally believe that.
Yeah, I agree.
But having said that, if Coach Priscillo thinks that they can make him a really good tackle, there's a lot of value in that.
Yeah.
So that goes to what NYG has been saying for the past 2 years. He's always said that he doesn't like the way that we switch guards to tackles and tackles to guards, not out of necessity, just because they want to do it, just because they want everybody to be versatile. Do you think that has been one of the major issues why this offensive line hasn't got to the level that they need to be just to be competent? Do you think the switching of the guard to right guard or the guard to center or like a Zudu from guard to tackle, do you think that's hindering the whole offensive line, not just a Zudu?
Well, the short answer to that is yes, but there's reasons behind it. One of the reasons is the players have not performed at a competent level at the position that they were supposed to be. So what happens? You try him at another position to see if he can do any better there. The other reason is, and I don't have the stats to back it up, but I think you guys would probably agree with me when I tell you that over the last 6 or 7 years, the Giants have had one of the more banged up and injured offensive lines in the National Football League.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Okay, so what does that force you to do? It forces you to jumble guys around. So, again, I agree with your premise, but I also think there are logical reasons why they were backed into a corner.
I definitely agree with that. That's some of the things that we talk about on with the Big Blue Crew too. The injuries, man, have been killing us. Like today, we got an injury scare with Illuminor, and that would have been horrible because Neil is already out.
But not only that, with the whole, we've been pounding the table with this for years too. The whole team can actually say this. 3 regime changes in 4 years, 5 years. So, then you got draft picks from 3 different regimes jumbled on one team who, they were drafted for this scheme or for that scheme or for that scheme. And you got them all on one team trying to play your scheme now. So, you got a lot to add with the injuries as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, guys, it goes back to guys like Will Beatty It goes back to Richburg. It goes back to, remember David Boss, the center they signed
Remember
from the
David Boss?
49ers.
Yeah.
And he got hurt. And then Kevin Booth had to go in and play center and help them win a Super Bowl. You know, I mean, the offensive line on this franchise has been snake bitten to such a degree that it's absolutely ridiculous. So I mean, they've had guys retire on them too. Remember that?
Yeah.
That's true.
And then retire. So, I mean, that's why I will tell you, I get that the fans are frustrated and disgusted that the line has never truly been fixed. But I say to people all the time, you can make that statement because it's true, but you can't make the statement that they haven't tried.
Mm-hmm.
Almost every single year they address it, and you know what happens. Now, they didn't draft anybody this year, but they brought in free agents.
Yep.
I mean, they've addressed the line every year. They address the line. And so you can't tell me it's for lack of effort.
Right.
Thanks. Well, I got an actual coach on the Big Blue Crew team, Mr. Coach Ed. What's going on, Mr. Coach Ed? You got any questions for P-Dot while you're here?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Appreciate you guys having me on. Mr. Dottino, I think, well, my question deals with patience because I'm old school. You know, I go all the way back to the 70s, you know, so is the lack of patience also a contributing factor? I get injuries, I understand that, but, we go as old school offensive lineman is probably it takes the most to really develop along with quarterback. And it takes time because of the physical play and the physical development. So could patience also be a contributing factor? Because like you said, you're throwing a lot of the young guys to the wolves in a sense, and you're not really developing them the way you could or what we're able to in the past. So could that patience be a factor?
Well, here's the problem. As you're going through the season and you're in the middle of a season and guys get hurt or guys are not living up to their potential, there's an immediate sense of urgency because we know when the offensive line is not performing at a functional level, it basically is akin to a disaster for your football team. So what happens? Coaches immediately figure, well, we got to find a fix for this right away. How can we plug the hole in the dam? How can we stop the water from coming downhill and flooding the town? So what do? They immediately start moving pieces around to try to find something that will stop the water. Mm-hmm. So I get it. To some degree, you're right. Would you like to have more patience with every one of these guys and polish them up and develop them like you'd really want to? But it becomes incredibly difficult under the circumstances that have beset this franchise for years. And of course, that's only a legitimate logistical reason based on the circumstances that the Giants have faced. There's a bigger philosophical reason here. I remember Carl Nelson, who was, as you guys know, one of the suburbanites, was on the broadcast team with me. And Carl used to say to me all the time, you need a minimum of a couple of years together as a starting five offensive line before you can really gel properly. It's going to be till that third year till you guys are really tight-knit, unified, and ready to go kick butt. Well, how are you supposed to do that in today's world with free agency and salary caps? Look, fellas, again, I don't know how long you've been listening to me on Big Blue Kickoff. I've been anti-salary cap and the free agency system ever since it was implemented. I don't like it. It destroys the fabric of your team. Coaches and general managers, I guarantee you, if they could do away with it, they would.
Yep.
But from a business perspective, this is how the league survives and thrives and how the players, get maximum value for their wares. I understand that, but I happen to be a lover of the game. And if you love the X's and the O's and the fabric of what is going on the field, you understand that the salary cap and free agency basically throws acid in the face of the game and does everything it can to disintegrate the unity and the hard work that coaches want to do on a daily basis to form that bond so that they can grow and mature together and have a single solid unit, especially on the offensive line. I'm sure you guys understand that.
Yeah, I totally understand it. And that's some of the things that I've been speaking on in terms of the offensive line, because it does take time, and I get fans just like you where, they want the immediate fix. And I've always said, it takes time to play offensive line, to gel, to know what your partner is going to do, because there is a silence to playing the offensive line sometimes where what the stunts, what's going to happen, what type of twist, how to read. You play with your partner, you're going to watch film and you're going to say, look, when he's shaded in this type of attack, in this down and distance, this team is going to tend to do this. They're going to run this twist. They're going to send this type of a blitz. We need to have our eyes at the second level along with feeling the first level to be able to pick up these stunts, these twists, and these blitzes. And that takes time and that takes working together. And you can't do it within 1 year, because I've said it. The guys will tell you. I've said I see talent in Evan Neal. It just takes time. It really takes the time to play the position. And in today's game, you're right. It's just not there.
And coach, here's the other thing too. For all the reasons we've already discussed, you have a jigsaw puzzle and a revolving door at the different positions on the line. Well, what do you think that's done to Evan Neal? Again, he's had injuries. He hasn't been able to even practice at the level he has needed to develop and mature his skills. But on top of that, how many right guards has he had to play with since he got to this league?
About 4 or 5.
So where's the continuity? I mean, think of all of the hand grenades that have been thrown at this offensive line over the years, preventing it from becoming functional. And year after year, the Giants address it. They try to retool it. You asked me before about how do I feel about the line. And I went through each one of the starting 5 guys individually, because that's all I can do. Because this other issue of the 5-man unit is another inherent problem that we have in today's game. And I can't even begin to speak about that because there's no way to fix that.
Yeah, it's the continuity between you and the person next to you, like picking up stunts. If you've been playing together,
trust him and know that he's going to be where he needs to be, so you can focus on your assignment.
Yeah, if you're playing with a different person every other game, you're not going to be able to build that relationship with that guy. Okay, we see this, we know what we're going to do at this point. Speaking of like your right guard and your right tackle, or your left guard and your left tackle, the center, he's the captain of the line. He has to know where the blitzes are coming from. Sometimes he calls out the mic. Yeah, sometimes he calls the shifts. If they want him to have that ability, like a Jeff Saturday was, he called out the line shifts, and Kelsey, he called out the line shifts for the Eagles. But that is absolutely true when you really think about it. These guys rarely ever play together for multiple games. Like the Eagles line, they've played 16 to 17 game seasons for the last 3 years. They know each other. They know each other's movements. They know, hey, if they do this, me and you gonna do this. And Kelsey's, you know what he gonna do. And then it is bad, man. And it's like a new offensive line every year, and that's not good. That's how you get messed up. Look at the Cowboys. They've had solid lines for the past 20 years. Since the Emmitt Smith days, to be honest with you.
It's virtually impossible. And the Bengals got to the Super Bowl a few years ago with what was one of the worst lines in football. And I will tell you, Giants played Cincinnati a couple years back at a preseason game. And I went up to one of the coaches and I said, you guys totally burned the book of pro football. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, your offensive line was one of the worst in the game, and you still got to the Super Bowl. I said, that's like lightning in a bottle.
Mhm.
He goes, no, it's not. That's Joe Burrow.
Okay. That's Jamar Chase, T.
Here's,
Higgins, Uzama. Yeah. When you
here's the
got
other factor.
receivers, go
Here's the
ahead.
other
I mean,
factor.
sometimes they're just these aberrations that go against the book. But the book 9 times out of 10 is going to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Here's one thing that I always preach about the offensive line and its importance is it's to me the heart and soul of the whole team because it also helps the defense. Because if you have a functional, a good, a offensive line, it also allows your defense to rest. It keeps offensive drives going. You know, whether it's a quick strike or you're a 10-play series moving down the field. You know, defenses 3 and out and you're back out there, 3 and out and you're back out there.
Yep.
It wears on your defense. So an offensive line is, and I understand we're in a day and age where everyone says the quarterback is the most important position. You know, to me, it's old school. It's the offensive line because without the offensive line, quarterback can't do his job, receivers can't do their job, running backs can't do their job, and the defense cannot do their job because they're out there too often.
Yeah. No, the offensive line is the one unit in the game. It's the unit. I'm not talking about the quarterback. We all know the quarterback has the ball the most, right? So everybody says he's got the ball in his hands on most of the plays. So that's going to be the guy who has the biggest impact on the game. Okay, fine. That's a different position. It's totally unique. The unit that has the most control over the narrative and the tempo and the context of the game is the offensive line. It will never change. That's it. It all spider webs off the offensive line. Everything in one way or another. They say the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. It all goes back to the offensive line, not Kevin Bacon. Okay, it goes back to the line, and
Hey,
the
Paul.
Giants line was functional in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow! By coincidence, they made the playoffs that year.
Yeah, facts. That's what we've been saying. But hey, NYG, before you get your next question in, what's going on, Miz? Miz had a question for you.
Rone.
Part of the Big Blue Crew, Miz
Hey,
and
what's
Miz
up?
midday. Check him out. Miz, what's your question, man?
How are you, Paul? I appreciate what you do for
Hi.
this fan base, man.
Thank you.
My question, you might have gone over it. I got here late. Forgive me for that. But Evan Neal is a guy that a lot of the fans are twisted on. I'm a big believer in Evan Neal. The night we drafted him, I was ecstatic. I don't believe the guy forgot how to play football, and I'm a person. Maybe I'm one of the few that still believes he's gonna matter very much. I wanted to know what you think. I just think that in today's day and age, a lot of the young generation doesn't have patience anymore. Sometimes it can take 4 or 5 years. I mean, I would not give up on a guy.
Well, here's what I will say about Neal. And Joe Shane was right today when he told the media at the press conference that, Neal's still coming off the ankle. He said, but he's coming off the ankle surgery. Until they get him on the field, and Carmen Brasillo, who I believe was the most important offensive line acquisition of the offseason, okay? More important than any of the players is Carmen Brasillo. Again, I have such belief in him based on the references and his resume. Until Brasillo can get his hands on him on the field, I truly don't know what to expect. He's got to get healthy. He's got to get on the field. Brasillo's got to work with him, and we're going to take it from there. Because we don't know right now, based on the variety of injuries that Neal has had since he got to the Giants, what he may or may not be capable of doing at this stage of his career, only 3 years into the league. And that's the most honest answer I can give you.
That's a very honest answer. I've been on record saying that you got to give Evan Neal his shot because you invested so much into him. He was the number 7 overall pick in that draft, and you've invested a lot. If he can turn out to be the tackle that we believe that he can be, him and Andrew Thomas as the bookends and the pillars of this offensive line, that helps out tremendously.
No
But
question. The upside, the value of him, if he works out and pans out, is immense. It's huge. The payoff is massive if he works
We'd
out.
have two bookend tackles on either side. That would be great. But how long is
That's
it
why
gonna
you
take?
have. That's why this year you got to do everything you can to get him on the field and to get Brasillo to bring out whatever it is that he's got in his body. He's got to max out whatever Neil has to offer and get that in the lineup so that we can actually see, is he the payoff or is he not? It's I can't explain it any other way. I'll give you a great example, right? Eric Flowers, who was also a very high
oh
first
man,
round draft pick, okay, suffered
Matt
injuries
Flowers.
and had a horrible attitude. Horrible attitude. And that derailed his time with the Giants. Simply put, the Giants at one point asked him if he would try to play guard. They tried to salvage that pick and see if he would move inside, and he refused. And it was only
okay.
after they got rid of him that
That he
he was
played guard.
willing to, understanding that his NFL career was hanging by a piece of tooth floss, dental floss, did he agree to play guard for Washington.
All right, man, you're getting exclusives here tonight with P Dot because everybody was asking that question.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't the Giants move him to guard? Now you got the answer.
refused.
He refused.
He refused. He said,
Well,
I'm not a guard. I'm a tackle.
Didn't Evan Neal come out saying that he wouldn't play, that he didn't want to play guard as well?
That's a good
He has
question.
said when the writers questioned him, he said, I'm a tackle. And I understand that because I think there's a certain amount of pride that every player has when he comes into the league. He's a professional. He's paid well. He is put on a certain pedestal. And quite frankly, most of the scribes who cover this game have never played the game, haven't studied the game, and don't truly understand what it takes. I mean, to be honest, I think there should be a much higher prerequisite for people who cover this game because it takes a tremendous amount of knowledge and understanding and judgment.
Yep.
And I mean, let's be serious. If you're an electrician by trade and somebody who knows nothing about electricity comes and says to you, don't you think you should wire that lamp another way? What are you going to say?
That's crazy, Paul, because I was just on a job and they gave me some diagrams, some electrical diagrams, and I was like, this looks like Chinese to me. I don't know what I'm looking at here. Y'all need to call an electrician. That's funny you said that.
And they call us crazy when we say things like that over here because they love calling us homers and old school guys because we like to see the Giants run the ball because I think that's when we are at our best, when we're able to get a running game going and use the play
Don't
action.
get me started. Don't get me
But
started.
they
well,
call us
fellas,
old and not with the
look,
time.
I get the same thing too. All right. The only thing I will say, and I appreciate your sentiments, I really do, because I'm coming from the same part of the reservation. Okay. What it comes down to is this: you have fans who are frustrated and they've been scarred for the better part of a decade, and they're disgusted, and they're upset, and they're angry, and they're impatient, and it's hard for them to ignore the scars, even though Joe Shane and Brian Dable have only been here now for 2+ years. So unfortunately, a lot of that residue from the previous years falls on these guys, and they're taking a lot more heat from some of the fan base than they deserve, obviously.
It's like a bad relationship, and you jump into a new relationship without fixing your own feelings and your own shit, and then you bring that into the new one and mess
Sure.
it all up.
Mhm.
Sure,
Which-
that's a great point. So I understand that, right? I do, and it's a shame but I know where those fans' frustrations are coming from. I get it. I see it. I understand it. I'm trying to help them with it, but a lot of them just want to be angry. And then, of course, you got the other problem. As I said before, you don't have a requisite standard of knowledge amongst the scribes who cover the team. And so, they're trying to survive in their job, and it's very easy to kick a dead horse. It's very easy to continue to pile on when things aren't going well. And if you haven't covered the game for a long time, and if you haven't studied the game and don't truly understand how the game works and what it takes, well, then what are you going to do? You're going to be delivering shallow information to the fans, which is going to do nothing but feed into their anger and frustration.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. We got another member of the Big Blue Crew in the building. I think you've seen him. He's been in the building asking questions. We got Alex, aka Big Blue in the Bronx. Alex,
yesterday, if we had any little people in the crew,
right? Here's the little guy. What's going on, Alex? What you got for P-Dot?
No, I don't really got much of anything. I mean, I was there today, so I was able to see what's what. I mean, my takeaways were they were basically doing install, swing passes, stuff like that. I was actually more intrigued to see what the lineups look like with certain position battles. Trey Herndon and Allen Robinson with the third team. But I mean, I just wanted to come on and show my presence, and of course, say hi to everybody on the panel. So you guys take it away. I just wanted to say what's up.
Establish dominance. Dominance.
He came in there. Hi, guys.
Fellas, I'm glad he mentioned that, though, because the lineup stuff is completely and totally useless at this point of training camp. And I love how so many people stand on the sidelines and they got their little checklists out and they're writing who's playing who and who's with what edition of the lineup. And this guy's with first team, this guy's with second team, this guy's with third team. Brian Daboll, during training camp, swaps out probably as much as any coach I've ever seen during his practice sessions in terms of swapping out guys who practice with first team or second team or third team. He does an awful lot of that. And part of the reason is, as he explains, is that when there are injuries and I have to elevate somebody on the depth chart, I don't want them having to wear a name tag when they play with their new teammates on the first team unit. Okay? That's the rationale behind it. And so I understand that there are people who are so impatient and so anxious. They want to know who the starting lineup is going to be week 1 against Minnesota. And they want that tonight. Okay?
Right.
They want that tonight. They want to know who the nickel is.
Era.
Right.
We
They
live in
want
the
to know who the
microwave
nickel
era.
is. They want to know who the dime is. They want to know who the fourth receiver is going to be. They want to know who's the gunner on the kick returns. They want that now, which, of course, is blatantly absurd. And part of the reason why the coaches have to consistently turn guys over while they're giving them reps during training camp, it's not just to see who's got the goods. It's to give guys a chance to prove that they don't have the goods.
Yep.
Sometimes they'll elevate a guy and give him some second or first team reps to let him go out there and prove that he can't do it so that they know he's going to be one of those first cuts. Well, in this case, there's only one cut now, obviously. It's changed over the years. But that's the other thing that I laugh at. So many guys will write during the course of a practice, oh, so-and-so got elevated to second team, so he must be moving up on the depth chart. No. It's because he hasn't done much. They wanted to give him a chance to prove that he doesn't belong on the team.
Because if you, like I always say, that guy is terrible. And we're going to find out that he is terrible when we put him in there against some of our top guys to show that he can't do it.
There you go. Exactly.
Okay.
You guys get it. Get
yeah.
it. It's a shame that you're not in the press room and you can't educate some of these people.
For
Tell him
real.
to watch our channel.
Hey, we're
Right.
trying to
I
get
want to
there.
ask one question of
Look,
Paul.
I came
Let me
in
ask
under
you.
Bill Parcells and George Young. Okay, I had and Bill Belichick. I had quite an education. Okay.
Mhm. Go ahead, Miz.
Paul, serious question right now. I'm going to say a
Yeah.
name and I want you to talk about him. Daniel Jones.
What do you want to know?
I want to know what you know. I want you to give me. You have a half a fan base here that hates Daniel Jones so much. You have fans that hate Daniel Jones so much that they're going into the season rooting to win one win this year. Okay?
Yeah, it's pretty
And negative fan
twisted,
base.
right? Pretty twisted logic.
It's a mess. So basically, I want to know what
Okay.
you feel
All right.
about Daniel Jones.
All right.
What is Daniel Jones? Can he be the guy for a long time?
Daniel Jones, first of all, he is so much, everything they've said in the past about him being so much like Eli is true. Tremendous work ethic, first guy in the building, last guy out, always there. I mean, I think he took 1 week vacation during the offseason and then took another week where he took 14 of his offensive players in his own passing camp down to North Carolina. Okay. Other than that, he has done nothing but bust his butt at the complex. So he is a tireless worker. He is a very smart individual, has an eagerness to learn and an eagerness to get better. He has built himself up. You guys, if you saw any of the video today or if you were out there today, you would have seen what I've seen all spring. He has absolutely added definition to his upper torso and body. He has added some muscle and some beef. He looks incredible, and his mobility. He is so far ahead of schedule. That's why I'm not surprised at what he was able to do today, because physically he's got all the tools, and we know that he's got a lot of the intangibles. So I give you that. Back in 2022, when he had a functional offensive line, obviously Saquon Barkley was there, and I don't for any stretch of the imagination underplay Barkley. Although Barkley was banged up in 2022, he did enough to gain 1,000 yards. Okay, so that was certainly important. But let's not forget, functional offensive line, a banged up Barkley, and a wide receiving core that Slayton was not typical Slayton for the whole season. And it wasn't until Isaiah Hodgins came in and had a final good couple of months that he really had a go-to receiver. I mean, think about it. Richie James caught 57 passes that season.
We had the slowest wide receiver group. Yep.
Richie James led the wide receiver room with 57 catches. Richie James probably could not make the team this year with the wide receivers that are in that room.
Right.
Okay? So you tell me, Daniel Jones had 5 regular season, fourth quarter come from behind victories, and then he had one in the Minnesota playoff game on the road. Okay? Look what he did with a subpar Barkley, just a functional line, and a subpar wide receivers room. Look what he did.
Right.
I defy anybody with common sense and logic to tell me that he's not good enough to win games in this league.
That's an
Good luck,
absolute
good
fact.
luck finding common sense out there these days.
Oh, well, because Twitter, let's face it, Twitter was an alien creation designed to destroy the minds of the human race.
Exactly.
Hey, that's an absolute fact, though.
I wanted to ask my question about the greatest show on turf, Big Blue version. Now, with the addition of Theo Johnson and Cager being on the tight end room, I believe the guy that's being unnoticed is Bellinger. Now, you have Malik Neighbors, Jalen Hyatt, Wandale Robinson, possibly Slayton. You got 5 guys fighting for one more wide receiver spot, I believe. I believe with Slayton and Bellinger having the most familiarity with Daniel Jones at this point, actually playing in games with him and having chemistry with him, they might be somewhat of his security blanket. And if this O-line struggles in the first couple of weeks, they might continue to be just that. And Bellinger might end up blossoming into a very good tight end, catching tight end. We all know he can block, but he's had some flashes where he's shown that he can catch and run and make some big splash plays for us. So I believe Bellinger is going to be very effective in them short situations where the line breaks up or Daniel Jones has to scramble and find a receiver, because I don't expect him to do too much running this year. What do you think?
Let me give you a two-part answer. I've said since he got here, Jake Bellinger, Daniel Bellinger for me is Jake Ballard 2.0.
Okay.
I think he's Jake Ballard. Okay. Who, by the way, was a solid player.
Good tight end, yeah.
Solid player. So that's who I think he is. I have some trouble though with the rest of what you were saying, because number one, Daniel Bellinger was very inconsistent in his second season. He's got to pick it up in year 3. Last year, he got flagged for 6 penalties, which is far too much. Last year, he was inconsistent with his blocking and had too many missed assignments. That can't happen. He's got to be better. So that's got to be cleaned up if he's going to be the player that I think he can be. The other issue is that if the Giants' offensive line isn't very good, you're suggesting Bellinger can be the security blanket. I'm telling you, he's going to have to stay in and block more. So how can he be the security blanket if they need him to be the 6th blocker?
That's a fact. That's why I always say this offensive line is key, because it takes away from what you can do on the field. You can't put your weapons in place that you want them to be in place. But
correct. So what's going to happen is, if the line isn't very good and Bellinger has to be the 6th blocker, then you're going to get, and we love how the critics do this. They even did it to Eli. You get the old check down game to the running back out of the backfield. Well, when that becomes about the only play that your offense can run, because it's got so many cracks in the dam, what else are you supposed to do?
What Eli did, throw the ball directly into the ground. And give Barkley 90 catches. But
okay,
I got a question about
it's amazing. Well, again, it's like the blind leading the blind. You got the poor fans reading all this crap. What are they supposed to think?
Hey, Peanut might be secretly with the Big Blue Crew too.
Thank you. I've been saying that.
What I love about it is that you guys have a clue. It's a pleasure to talk to people who understand and who have at least put some time and thought into it.
Right. Go ahead, NYG.
No, I wanted to shout out to Paul, man. Appreciate you joining the show.
No problem.
I wanted to talk though about because this is a phase of the game not a lot of people talk about, and it's going to be an important phase of the game this year, and that's special teams. With the new rules, and given that the Giants hired a new special team coach, do you think they've put enough emphasis on that phase of the football? And how do you see them employing their returners? Because from what I understand, you can use different formations on the kickoffs and different things like that now. I think you can use 2 returners, not just one. So it's going to be interesting to see. But how do you see things shaking out with the special teams unit this year?
Well, first of all, you could always use 2 returners. Back in the 70s, teams constantly used 2 kickoff returners back there. So that's nothing new, and there's never been a rule against it. But a lot of special teams coaches believe you'll need to, because there's going to be a lot of directional kickoffs. At least that's the anticipation because of the changes. So if there's going to be directional kickoffs, you're going to need 2 guys to be able to cover the width of the field. So that's where that's coming from.
Okay.
There's an expectation based on what a lot of the special teams coordinators saw with the XFL, that with the new formation, the guys best suited to return kickoffs will be running backs because of their explosiveness, their vision, their power and ability to break some tackles, and their physicality. That's the skill set of the running back. It seems to lend itself to what you're going to have, because remember, because of the new formations, the amount of density of players coming down the field at a different speed than they used to is going to be far different than what we saw under the usual kickoff rules.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why the anticipation is of running backs. To me, that's one of the reasons they brought in Miller. Miller was brought in because Dante Miller has that kind of skill. I think Tracy certainly has the kind of skills that could potentially make him a good kickoff return guy. Those are just two guys off the bat who right now are deep on the depth chart. But during the course of the camp, we may see that maybe one or two of those guys, turn out to be really good kickoff return guys, and maybe they steal a spot on the 53.
I was going to ask you that. Do you think that would lead them to carry an extra running back, being as the importance of the fresh special teams now?
Oh, I think it's absolutely possible. But here's the thing again, fellas. We got to keep going back to the 53 because you're going to have injuries at camp. And when you have injuries at one position, now you got to steal from another position that's healthy. So I think they're going to keep 6 receivers on the 53. Okay?
Yep.
They may want to keep 3 quarterbacks. They may. I don't think Tommy DeVito gets through waivers.
No, if they
Put him
cut
on the
him,
practice squad, he's going to get taken. So do you keep Tommy DeVito worried that what if Daniel doesn't hold up? Do you want to go into a game with Drew Lock and Mr. X? Or would you rather go in with Drew Lock and Tommy DeVito?
Yeah.
So
that's
you
legit.
gotta think about keeping a third quarterback. You got to think about keeping an extra running back. You got to think about how many receivers are we going to keep. If we're going to be a pass-first offense,
You keep 7.
The run. Do you keep 7 receivers instead of 6?
Your offensive line.
What? Yeah. Okay. Evan Neal. Let's say Evan Neal continues to be gimpy the entire camp. Now you got to keep an extra lineman. Where are you going to get these spots from, guys? So in answer to that part of the question, I don't have one. Health is going to dictate a lot of that. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
In terms of, do the Giants spend enough time on specials? Yeah. Actually, I was a Thomas McGahee fan. Okay. But again, when your team is hurting and you got a lot of guys banged up, what unit does that affect the most? Special teams.
Specials.
I still see the Giants.
Backups have to play starter now,
There you
and
go.
now you have to reach to get backups off the waiver wire. Or
Exactly.
practice
I
squad.
still believe that Joe Shane isn't done. And when all the final cuts are done and people are put on practice squads, he's going to start plucking players and dropping players that we have on our 53. Don't be surprised if there's 2 or 3 guys we grab after the cuts and we replace 3 or 4 of our guys.
Let's see. I'll say this. Okay. If Graham Gano, and by all accounts, he's fine. All right. By all accounts, he's fine. He's as good a kicker as there is in the league. I've got no troubles with Graham Gano. Jamie Gillen improved last year. Okay. So I'm okay with him too. Now, the return game, again, it's up for grabs, but I don't think anybody really knows how the return game is going to shake out this year around the league. I mean, all the special teams coaches are saying we got to wait and see. So I don't know if anybody can really predict exactly who's going to be good at it and who's not. Same thing with the coverage units. You look at the coverage units, and here's what I will say, though, right? You got a guy like Miles Boykin, who comes from the Steelers.
Thanks. I said
6'4" receiver from Notre Dame. Now, he is a special teams coverage guru. That's what he does. He's really good at it. Is there room for a guy like that on the 53?
I
I
think
don't
you
know.
gotta have a guy like that on the 53, Paul. To be honest
Well,
with you,
I think
unless
Giants
unless
do.
You get
Nick
a spot
McLeod
for
is
him,
that
though.
guy,
Yeah.
unless Nick McLeod is that guy, I
Nick
think you gotta
McLeod
keep
is their
somebody like
best gunner, right? Nick McLeod is their best guy, right? He's their best coverage guy. I think we all
Yep.
agree with that.
Mhm.
Okay. But here's the problem. Are the Giants good enough and will they be healthy enough opening day that by the time they have to set their 53, are they going to be able to afford to carry, quote, another special teams demon besides Nick McLeod? Or are we going to wind up saying, look, you're going to have to get guys like Carter Coughlin, sticking on the back end of the depth chart, and he's got to be able to be okay? Well, I don't know the answer to that right now. Okay, I really don't.
Asked him about Neil already.
Mhm.
And
Hey,
I'll tell you something else too. And don't Isaiah McKenzie's here too. Remember the Buffalo Bills
Mhm.
connection.
I was going to ask
That's
you about him,
another
yeah.
guy who has special teams experience. How is Shane and Dable going to feel about Isaiah McKenzie if he's on the fence of the 53?
all right,
There's,
like,
Paul,
there's
is
a lot
Gunner
of questions.
is Gunner healthy? Gunner Olszewski?
Yeah, he
Gunnar
was returning
Olszewski- Gunnar
Olszewski.
Olszewski,
Olszewski, I mean.
I think he was outstanding on punt returns last year. And I would hate to see him lose his job. But what is Olszewski, right? I don't think he's accomplished enough to be one of the top 6 receivers on the team. I don't. What if you only keep 6? Can you afford to keep a guy who is an outstanding punt returner, but he doesn't return kickoffs? For example, last year when he was back there on kickoffs, they told him just fair catch the ball and let it go. They didn't want him to return the kickoffs. They said, listen, just make sure we get the ball back. Don't bother trying to return the kickoff. He is a punt returner. It's a different skill set to be a kickoff returner than it is a
Especially
punt
this
returner.
year with the new changes.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Mhm.
So what do? I think Olszewski is a very valuable punt returner. Can you keep an Olszewski on your 53? See, guys, this is why people like Dominic Hickson and Dwayne Harris
Mhm.
Yeah,
are
that's so
incredibly
valuable.
valuable.
Yep. Valuable.
Because they could
But-
give you special teams value, but
Everything.
also you have to be able
Played
to
all
play your
4.
position. You know what I mean?
They
That too.
played all 4 special teams positions,
Mhm.
plus they could play receiver.
Mhm.
That's
And we
the
don't
key.
have a guy like that currently on the roster. I don't believe.
Mhm.
I got a question for you.
By the way,
P-Dot.
Bryce Ford Wheaton, last year, I truly believe Bryce Ford Wheaton was going to make the 53. Okay?
Okay.
I do. I think
And
he
he
was
got
on the 53. I think he was going to make it until he blew out his knee.
I said the
He had a
same
good-
thing.
He had a good camp, and then they stuck him on special teams because they were really excited about him. They wanted to give him a chance to make it. So he started playing special teams, and he looked good at it. And I was like, oh, man, this guy's going to make the 53. And then he blew out his knee. So now he's back to try to challenge. But again, how many are you going to keep? Can he get back to that level that he was? And I think this is a deeper wide receiver room than it was last year.
Way deep.
Yeah.
So just because he would have made it last year doesn't mean he's going to make it this year. But I like the kid.
I like him too. He has the size.
Mhm.
He has the speed to play the receiver position. If he can turn into that gunner, he will make the 53-man roster. If he can turn into that gunner, that could be that guy that goes down there and handles his business. But I do have a question for you, and it's part of the run game. We all know, me and NYG, Unpopular Opinion Sports, we call the games every Sunday. And if you want to come in one Sunday and call a game with us, I'm going to just throw that out there for you.
I'm a little busy.
When
Oh Lord.
we were on the field and it was 3rd and 1, and we could never pick up the 3rd and 1, do you believe that Eric Gray can be that guy?
The Giants do not have a push the pile running back on the roster.
Thank you.
today.
Thank you.
I wanted them to draft Austin Estime out of Notre Dame.
Me too.
I
Either him
think-
or Braylon
Braylon
Allen.
Well, Allen.
He went to the Jets. Yeah.
I was an Estime guy. To me, he's a push the
Sure.
pile guy. Now, this goes back to what you guys asked me at the start of the program. I got to shut up here because I'm giving you guys the whole Fort Knox of information. I mean, this is like unbelievable. I'm giving you all the gold.
Right.
Because you feel comfortable here.
Right.
It's home.
See, I look at this wide receiver room, and I mean the running backs room, and Singletary does run between the tackles, but he's not a push the pile guy. Gray is better off tackle. Tracy's going to be better running wide. None of those guys, none of those top three guys are push the pile guys. In the back of the depth chart, I mean, whether it's Corbin or Miller, whoever else they want to throw back there, none of these guys are push the pile guys. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if you've got a 3rd and 2, now, in all likelihood, the way the Giants are built these days, they're going to go 5 wide empty backfield. Okay?
Yes.
Which I don't think you guys need to get an x-ray of my stomach to know what that makes me feel.
Welcome to the club. Welcome to the club.
Okay? But it'll be 3rd and 2, and they don't have the guy who's going to take the ball, run it between the tackles, get contact, and literally push the pile forward and move the chains. In other words, Brandon Jacobs. Rodney Hampton could do it and later in his career. Otis Anderson could do it. Joe Morris could do it.
Yeah.
Okay? Barkley could do it on occasion. Certainly Ahmad Bradshaw, for even as diminutive as he was, Ahmad had incredible thigh strength, and he could push the pile an extra half a yard to get a first down. There is nobody on this team I see as a push the pile runner. And I'm not talking yards after contact. I'm talking push the pile. PTP. Right? Dick Vitale calls them primetime players. I say PTP is push the pile. They don't have one. So that means that this line, which, by the way, has an undersized center and a pass protecting right guard, has to be able to execute their blocks properly, because they're not going to be able to get the power push that's going to help these running backs get that extra half a yard. They're not going to be able to do that. So the line is now, they're required. They've got to make their blocks. They've got to make those holes. They've got to make that crease, because if they're in a stall at the line, do you remember Brandon Jacobs getting the 4th down in the Super Bowl against the Patriots?
That 4th
You
and
remember
1.
that play? He tripped over Richie Seibert's ankle. Okay?
Right.
Tripped over his ankle, fell forward, and as hard as he could with his upper body, lunged forward and shoved that ball forward to get the first down. I don't think any of the backs on the team today can do that.
Yeah, you just confirmed our fears with the 3rd and 1 situation.
Don't
We were
know
so
how
angry
much.
last year, bro.
Oh gosh, that's
Everybody
frustrating.
on the stream was going crazy.
Yeah.
3rd and 1. Oh God, no! We got to punt.
How do you lose 3 yards?
Right. But it's been
You guys
crazy.
remember Charles Way as a running back?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
You know, how much would you love to have him back there right
Oh,
now?
Man, I would
yes.
just love to have the Rhinoceros back. Henry
Yes.
Rhinoceros.
Yeah, right?
I'd love to have him back. Man,
Madison
but-
Hedgecock.
Yep.
Yes.
Madison Hedgecock. Yep.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, it's funny, right? Hedgecock didn't touch the ball much. He was more of a blocker. Hynoski was more of a blocker, didn't touch the ball much. Jim Finn was blocking for Tiki Barber,
Yep.
you know,
Remember Jim
and he
Finn,
was an
too?
undersized fullback, but he knew how to get it up in there and lead his guy into the first down territory. Look, that's another thing, fellas. I'm a fullback guy. You know, the no one's surprise, right? I
Right.
like having a
Those
fullback
days
on
are
the roster.
gone. The William
Maurice-
Floyds, the Lorenzo
Maurice
Neal.
Carthen. Oh
Yeah.
gosh.
Maurice Carter
Larry
was
Sanders.
one of the best all-time
Yes.
prototype fullbacks I've ever
Yes.
seen, ever.
Yes. Ever. Perfect.
Wasn't that
Lou,
part
you got
of
a
Paul?
question?
There for a little while, we had Gary
Carmen
Brown, who
Basillo.
was a physical guy.
Gary Brown was
Mhm.
physical. He bullied his way to 1,000-yard season too.
Go
Yeah, I
ahead,
was gonna
Lou.
say, didn't Carmen Basillo use fullback in Oakland?
Jakob
I mean,
Johnson. Yeah.
Vegas.
Yeah, but he doesn't control the roster here.
That's
Mhm.
true. Yeah.
True.
Dang it.
So let's say for Evan Neal, he's on player unable to practice list, but there was a statement made that he's working hard to get back. Now, if he gets back, well, if Illuminor plays and he plays solid by the time that Evan Neal is healthy, will they replace Illuminor if this team has chemistry and put Neal back out there, or will they let Illuminor continue to run at right tackle?
I can't get into Brian Dable's head on this, and quite honestly, he was asked that earlier today, and said, "Well, we don't know. You know, we got to see how it plays out." You know, he wasn't going to cement Evan Neal in at right tackle at all costs. And quite frankly, let me just say, what makes sense to you? If Neal can't go, and somehow this offensive line starts the season and is performing well together, as miraculous as that may be right out of the box, because again, it's been totally retooled.
Hodgepodge.
Why would you change it?
Mhm.
Right. Right. That's
I
what I
mean,
was.
Why would you change it? I don't. So look.
Because
I
I
love
saw
when
signs
people
of
say,
this.
and I get it, you can't lose your job because of injury, but in today's game, where
Right.
there's no patience and there's a sense of urgency,
The J.G. Wentworth Society.
dude,
Right.
you got that snowball rolling downhill. Keep rolling it downhill. Don't get in the way.
Right.
I said that in my video. If Illuminor is playing good at right tackle and Evan Neal's not able to go, there's no reason to bring Evan Neal in there, even though you've invested into him. If our offensive line is playing good, you let them boys play.
Play.
Seriously, you don't bring
Now, of
nobody in
course,
there.
Mess it up.
Now, of course, that the footnote to that is Illuminor may be playing really well at right tackle, but now Stinny's got to be playing well at left guard.
Right.
Because now, if that's not working, now you still got to fix a problem. So maybe the fix is to move Illuminor back to left guard and let Neal play right tackle. You see? It's not so much about the individual, it's about the line, it's about the unit. Coach, come on, you know this.
No, you're right. I mean, if it's not working, we talked about it earlier. As far as the weakest link in those situations, you don't keep going with the offensive line if you have a weak link out there. You have to make the adjustments and you have to fix it. So if Neal comes back and Illuminor is playing well and Stinny is not, you got to move Illuminor back over there.
It's about the best combination.
Yeah,
Why do you
the best
guys think David Deal wound up starting at multiple positions over the course of his Giants career? They weren't moving him game to game, but season by season, he played numerous positions because it was about what is the best combination. Right, Coach?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The best five have to be out there and play, but ultimately it is the best combination. What do I always say about the left side of that line also? That's DJ's backside. So you have to, especially when he's dropping back, I know everyone talks about the right side, the right guard, Illuminor, he should be at playing right guard, but I say you have to shore up that backside more than anything. Because DJ drops back. When he drops back, that's his blind side. That's what you have to fit. That's why Stinny is key right now, especially with Illuminor going over to the right tackle. Because if he's playing well, Stinny, then okay, fine. If he solidifies that backside for DJ, then okay, fine. Then you can go ahead with it. But if you can't, you got to move Illuminor back over there. And I know there are people that do not want to hear that, but that's the fact.
Hey,
I will say this.
Hold on 1 second, fellas. Hold on 1 second.
Do you
Hey,
look
P-Dot.
back now?
Well, let me go back to Illuminor for 1 second, because that may be the one small footnote to the point about the short yardage power run game. If Illuminor is able to be the left guard in the reconfigured line, you've got 660 plus pounds of beef
Left
with
side.
Illuminor and Thomas at left tackle and left guard. So if I'm in a third and short situation, where do you think I'm running the ball? I'm
Left
going to
Ain't got no
try,
choice.
and the whole stadium can know about it. I'm hopeful
Can't stop it.
that those
Yes.
two guys together, I'm hopeful that even if 80,000 people know and millions more watching the game worldwide, they all know it's going behind
They run it to the
Thomas
left.
and Illuminor. Run that sucker right up their backs.
Bill
And
Parsons.
hopefully, okay, the other team hasn't sent that extra blitzer off the corner and it's a 3-on-2 and they're able to slice back there and give the Giants a 1-yard loss. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But, you know, that may be the only way the Giants can show any kind of muscle in a short yardage situation.
So now, do we revisit that workout with Greg Van Ratten and possibly swap him out with McKeithen on the roster?
Sign him.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. This administration drafted McKeithen, again, a North Carolina kid, tremendous frame, has a perfect boxcar power frame to be a guard in this league. And I know that when they got him in the 5th round, they thought that that was a really, really good value and a kid who was going to have a lot of potential.
Because him and the Zudu played on the same team.
Correct.
Carolina.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, again, kid's been beset by injuries. How long do you wait?
Yeah, that's the question.
That is so hard.
I spoke highly of
You-
McKeithen.
You guys want to laugh real quick? Remember when P. Dot said that people don't really study in the offensive line? They talk about the check downs and everything.
Mhm.
Danny Slow processor does. He said he's not a difference maker. Check down artist. He's never thrown more than 7 yards per game average, even going back to Duke. He's always been the same guy. This is what we deal with, P. Dot. You literally predicted what somebody was going to say. Literally, that's what we do. I guess
another
that's what we get.
You know what, fellas? You know that old saying about you put garbage in, you get garbage out.
Right.
What do the fans have to read every day?
Exactly. But that is very true with guys like Azudu, who I do believe is going to make this team. I don't think there's no way Azudu doesn't make this team.
Yeah.
But I do believe Lou is right about McKeith. And if we do bring in Van Rotten, who is familiar with Brasillo, and I think he will make the team if he's brought here, because they wouldn't sign him if not.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
It's hampered by an injury, and you do have to run with Illuminor at right tackle. And
They
if you
played together.
use Zudu as a swing tackle, then you're gonna need that guard.
Well,
So-
you're gonna keep 9 offensive linemen, right? Plus practice squad. Now, I would say this: the one thing McKeithen has going for him, because he's young, he hasn't gotten in many games, and he's been injured a lot. You might be able to sneak him out of the practice
Yeah.
squad.
Right.
That I agree with.
You know, you may not lose him.
Okay,
Well, yeah, you can put McKeithen on the practice squad. I don't think anybody will pick him up off the practice squad.
Doubt
But-
it. I got a question about Darius Slayton. Now, Pat Pat made a video, good video. Y'all go check that out. And Slayton was on Keyshawn Johnson's podcast. And he was saying that, you know, basically he wanted the ball more. He wanted more targets. And, you know, he was, you know, kind of going through the numbers, you know, and everything like that. Now, given that and given the contract dispute he had earlier, which the Giants seemed to work out, but it seems to be starting to kind of get the feeling he may not be totally happy now in this situation. My question to you, Paul, is gut feeling, just a gut feeling. Do you believe Darius Slayton finishes this season as a New York Giant, or do you believe they New York Giants look to trade him?
The only way that I think Slayton goes is if the Giants season falls apart before the trade deadline, and then potentially someone comes in and says, hey, we really want to get him for our stretch run, and the Giants decide that they want to grab a draft choice for him. I don't think they're shopping him. Joe Shane already said that during the offseason, that was never an option. They want him on this team. And Slayton himself, and I get along great with Darius. I talk to him a lot. He was very satisfied that they redid his deal with some incentives. And what he really wanted was assurances that he was still going to be a big part of the game plan. And obviously, they were able to come to terms on that. And they gave him the incentives that he was looking for. He believes that that's the case. And he told me, he goes, all's good. I remember seeing them first day he came back. He's like, hey, we're all good. So I don't know when that interview was taped. I don't know the context of all the quotes that were said, but I did see some of the reports off of it. And I think they were greatly exaggerating his feelings because as far as I know, he's happy to be here. He believes when they tell him that he is going to be a significant part of the passing game, and they're happy to have him.
Let him know that the Big Blue Crew would love to have an interview with him where he won't be ambushed with any
Just for to say that.
sidebar questions.
I'm a big Darius Slayton fan. Probably one of the few.
Right.
My first video I ever made was about Darius Slayton and how the Giants do need Darius Slayton. So I just wanted. I'm glad you was able to clear that up because we all hear rumors, but you being in the building is definitely important, man, to hear that from you.
Well,
All right.
look, every general manager, if he's doing his job properly, his phone is going to be open on his desk. And if some team comes calling and makes him some offer that he can't refuse, nobody's untouchable. I mean, I guess because of contracts, yeah. Daniel Jones would be untouchable. Andrew Thomas would be untouchable. Dexter Lawrence would be untouchable. I mean, there's going to be a handful of guys. Am I telling you that Darius Slayton is untouchable? I mean, he's not Jerry Rice, okay? I'm not telling you that. But the Giants are not shopping him. And as far as I know, he is not asking or looking to be dealt.
Now, to piggyback off that real quick, let's talk about one of our young guns. I want to know, since you're in the building, you see these guys daily. What do you think about Jalen Hyatt, and what do you think his development can be? What do you see out of him as far as his development and everything?
Jalen Hyatt is another guy who works his butt off. Very eager to learn. Very, very excited to be here. Has come from a situation at Tennessee where he was very raw. He did not have the whole route tree. We know what was said about him coming out in the draft. Because of the limited way that he was used with the Volunteers, it was going to hurt his draft stock. Hurt it enough that he dropped to the third round. The Giants were thrilled to get him. Okay. They were thrilled to get him. They thought he'd be a second round talent, and they got him in the third. What have I seen from him? I've seen a tireless worker who also spent a tremendous amount of time in the offseason at the facility working on his route running and catching the ball. He also put on a little bit of definition. My complaint coming out of school with him, and my question was, because he was so wiry, how is he going to deal with some of the physicality of the bigger, stronger DBs in the National Football League? Because even though he's got really good speed, how would he deal with guys who are going to try to beat him up? And last year as a rookie, I think he showed his rawness. He showed that he was green. It was a great learning experience for him. And now he has busted his butt in addition to working on his body to try to get better and show that the arrow's pointing up. I don't want to put a ceiling on him anymore. I thought when he came out of school, he was probably going to be strictly a slot receiver who may not be able to move outside because I didn't know physically, or for that matter, if he'd be able to adapt to the pro football route tree. I thought he'd be limited. And now I'm not so sure. I don't want to put a ceiling on him. I'm very intrigued by what Jalen Hyatt might be able to do over the course of not just this year, but over the course of the next 2 or 3 years. I am very curious what his long-term upside is going to be, because I don't want to cap it as I may have once felt when he came out of school.
That's exactly the way I feel about him. I believe if he develops that core strength to where he can get off the line of scrimmage, when it comes to press corners that are extremely physical, he can do just about anything that he wants to do to you if he has that route tree because of that speed factor. You have to worry about that speed factor. And then if you have a DB that has to line off of him, you get him a quick slant and somebody misses a tackle, it might be over. So, I'm definitely intrigued about this receiving core. That's why that was the question I asked you when I came on the kickoff show. We might have another three guys that we can believe in moving into the future. And that's not to say that Slayton can be pushed to the wayside, because I think Slayton, who is more developed when it comes to getting off the line of scrimmage and running those routes,
well, he
could be a deadly number 2 for us this year.
Well, really, when you consider the fact that Darius Slayton has already been around for a handful of years, you go, just extend yourself another 2 or 3 years down the road. If I say to you that Neighbors, Hyatt, and Wan'Dale Robinson are your star 3 receivers all in their prime together, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about.
That could be really cool, right?
Yeah, you can have about 2,000-yard receivers and one around about 800-900.
You know what they're
right?
Yeah. So
greatest show on turf, Big Blue version.
I'm not saying that Slayton can't last a couple of more years, but obviously, his timeline is much more down the line or further advanced, and he will be out of his prime by the time those guys are fully in their prime. That's all I'm saying.
I have a question, and I'm getting away from the offense because that's where this has been about for the most part. I got to go to the real side, where real football is won and lost. The defense,
defensive side.
Talk about it,
with the back end, with the back end, with the fight for the number 2, but also with the new scheme, playing a lot more zone as opposed to with Wink. And shout out to Wink. There's some principles that Iville always used to cover 0, so on and so forth. But a lot more zone, which I think will benefit some of the defensive backs. I love the safety inversion where, safeties drop, cornerbacks drop back into some of the cover 2 looks on occasion. The 3 safety looks. Will this help this defense overall and make it grow even more than where it was last year, especially on the back end with the DBs and with the DBs and also the linebackers, playing into the pass cover schemes?
Coach, I think I have 2 answers for you. The first one is Isaiah Simmons. Isaiah Simmons. I'm sorry. Who I thought coming out of Clemson that year was the best defensive player in the draft. It hasn't proven out that way, unfortunately. But I think Isaiah Simmons is going to be the defender who benefits the most out of the new scheme. That's number 1, because he's got the ability to be a blitzer. He also has the ability to be a cover guy against those slot tight ends in particular. And can rove around the defense. I think he in a zone scheme will benefit the most of any of those guys on the back 7. But I think, to be honest, Shane Bowen, if he stays true to what he did at Tennessee by going with hardly any blitzes and relying on the 4-man front, the real impact here that I see, and you certainly are entitled to disagree. Again, I respect all coaches. I think that acquiring Brian Burns was the whole linchpin to what the Giants are going to try to do, because if you're going to predicate everything about your defense on being able to apply the necessary heat with your front four, well, you've got to have 3 studs amongst that front four. The fourth guy can be rather pedestrian or functional, if you will.
Mhm.
But if you only have 2 studs amongst the front four and then 2 pedestrian guys, a lot of what you're trying to do breaks down,
Mhm.
especially in a zone.
Mhm.
So for me, I'm more curious. Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau together have to be dominant and consistently dominant, because we know Dexter is. That's not a question. Dexter Lawrence is. But if Thibodeau now has a partner and you've got 3 guys in the front four, well, guess what? I don't care if you put 6 guys in the protection scheme. Okay? You can't deal with all those guys. You can't double team 3 guys, because if you do, the 4th guy has nobody to block, no one blocking him.
Right.
Okay? So
Right.
so right now, if I say to you, Coach, you're an offensive coordinator, right? And I'm going to give you Dexter, I'm going to give you Kayvon, I'm going to give you Brian Burns, and let's say I just put Nacho as the other guy in the 4. Okay? Now, what are you going to do? All right, you start with your 5, and you're going to put 2 guys on Dexter first. Right? That's the first guy you're going to block. Okay? So now you've got 3 guys in your standard formation, okay, to block Nacho, Kayvon, and Brian Burns. Good luck to you. So now what are you going to do? Now you're going to keep a tight end in. Okay. Now the tight end's going to help against Kayvon.
Bless you.
Bless you. So if he helps against Kayvon, Brian Burns is going to still have single. If he's going to help on Burns, Kayvon's going to have a single. Good luck to you.
Say thank you.
Now, what are you going to do? So I've already forced you to take your tight end out of your passing package. Now you're going to have to keep your running back in too, because your running back's going to have to help chip one of the outside linebackers who's going to be one-on-one against one of your other guys. So now you've got 6.5 guys to block my front 4. How much easier does that make it for my back 7?
Oh, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Yes, I love that thought. I love the concept. It on the front end, it helps them in the back end in terms of coverage. Playing games and changing your coverage post snap.
There you go.
When now your quarterback has to hold the ball a little bit longer, which allows the pressure to get there. I'm with you there. So,
and Coach, what if I do this? What if I line it up that way and I see that you got a 6.5 or 7-man protection, right? And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, I decide I'm sicking Isaiah Simmons off the edge. He's naked. He's naked. Your quarterback is a pancake.
No, I agree with you. Yes. I mean, I love in studying his concepts, the stunts that he works up front, even something as simple as sliding the line. You know, if you got a 3-tech, a DT at a 3-tech, and he crosses the guard's face going into the A gap, now that guard is going to have to come with him. Where now something as simple as that other end, Burns or Kayvon, can step up and then crash inside, get the tackle to open. Now he crashes inside because now the DT has crossed the guard's face, who's now turned away. So now there's the alley right there to attack. So and now it puts the pressure on the quarterback, and you're playing in zone. Eyes are on the quarterback. So now the quarterback is feeling the pressure, and maybe he does something foolish, trying to put the ball somewhere it doesn't belong. And now we can converge on the ball, and now we can make a play and take it to the house. So I'm with you. That's why when studying this defense, I said, I love it. I love it.
Hey, Coach, thank you for letting the people know I know a little something, because we've been talking about this the whole time. So thank you.
Yes.
Guys, isn't this better than talking about who's playing second unit middle linebacker on the first day of camp?
You're right.
Holy good God.
Yes.
We're talking real beef here, baby. This is what we do.
You're right.
Please. I love it.
Hey, listen, I just want to say that we appreciate you spending this much time with us.
Yes.
and speaking
Absolutely.
and feeling comfortable, feeling at home with us, because this has been what we created these channels for and these platforms for.
Mhm.
And 9 times out of 10, we have to deal with a lot of people with negativity and
It's
crazy
draining.
comments and trolling.
Well,
This
my
has been a
man,
breath of
some of
fresh
the
air to talk about
negativity,
football.
some of the negativity has been brought on by what's on the field too. I mean, we
Yeah.
gotta tell the truth.
Oh,
It is what
definitely.
it
yes.
is, right?
Definitely. Oh yeah. Listen, I call a spade quick. Everybody knows.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm a true New Yorker. I don't,
Mhm.
There you go.
but I just don't see the sense of rooting for your team to fail.
Yeah,
Right.
That's what gets
that's
me.
That's not a real fan.
I wasn't a fan of Daniel Jones when we drafted him, but the minute he put that blue jersey on with that NY logo on it, I pull for him.
you
I
know,
want him to do good, because if he does good, the team does good. If the team does good, I'm happy, because
There
I'm
you go.
a fan of the team.
Right.
exactly.
Hey,
That's
fellas,
what
I was all for Eli playing another year or two. Honestly, I thought he had it in him. I really
Mhm.
did.
Me too.
Forced him
And
Coughlin
and,
out
and
early.
I
They
was
should've
not a
fixed him
fan
early.
of taking a quarterback that year, and I didn't think the Giants should have. And then I was like, well, if they're gonna do it, take one at 17, but don't take one with that first pick. Wait till you go down. Use the other pick. Don't use the one that's really high. Now, having said that, and I still think that had the Giants' fate been a little better that last year, I think in fact I know they would like Eli to play another year. There's nothing that says in football 101 that you have to play your rookie quarterback in his first season in the league.
Facts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Screaming
Thank
that.
you.
Facts.
We've been
Thank you.
all saying that.
Mhm.
The
If he
book
had
doesn't
sat
say that.
behind Eli for a full season or two and learned the game, learn how to read the defenses and audible and
Thank you.
everything, just pick Eli's brain for a year or two. When they put him on the field, he'd have been elite, because he has the
Absolutely.
physical tools.
Absolutely. Hey, fellas, listen. I would love to see J.J. McCarthy play opening day for Minnesota and Jaden
Yeah,
Daniels
right.
for Washington. Let those two kids get welcome to the NFL the first 2 weeks of the season. By all
Right.
means, guys, bring it on. Bring it on. Let those two young pups know what it's like to get thrown into the deep part of the pool.
All right. Here's one more question for him, man. I can't believe Pete I've been on here for almost 2 hours with us.
No, man.
I got one more question.
Honorary member of the Big Blue Crew
Right.
Mhm.
Salute.
Whenever you want to come on
Guys,
and talk some ball.
you're cooking the sauce here. That's why I'm staying with you.
Hey, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Right. Let me ask you this. Our division. How do you see us going against our division this year? As you know, we've been trying to close the gap, as Joe Shane has said the past year or so. How do you see us faring against our division this season?
I think if you strictly look at the production of what we anticipate to be the 53-man rosters, the Giants have closed the gap somewhat, but they are still number 3. Now,
Okay.
the question becomes not about the production, but what about the guys who are projections?
Mhm.
That's where the Giants need to make the most advancement. If the projections wind up coming to fruition and playing like they should, if Dante Banks, coming off a rookie season, becomes absolutely outstanding in year 2, and if Cordell Flott, who I think is going to be a pretty darn good corner on the other side, if he projects and gets to that point where he's not a projection, but a production guy, all of a sudden, those are the kinds of things the Giants need if they're actually going to catch the top 2 teams in the division. That's what they need. They need projection guys to be production guys. And right now, they got a handful of projection guys that they need to take it to the next level. John Michael Schmitz is another guy. I told you that before. He's got to take it to the next level. Year 1, rookie. A lot of rookie mistakes, a lot of growing pains. I get all that. Okay, Year 2, he's got to be better. You know, when you draft a guy, you expect there's going to be improvement each of the first 3 years of his career. Well, all these guys who they've drafted in 22, 23, and even some of the rookies have to give them production now if they're going to challenge for first or second place in the division. Washington clearly to me is the 4th most talented team in the division. But because of the turnover of the coaching staff and everything that's gone on with that organization, and God only knows, again, Jaden Daniels, if he's the quarterback right out of the box, we know what the odds are of a rookie quarterback, winning games in this league. They're very, very long. It does not happen very, very often. So I would have to believe that no matter what Washington does to help their team, if Daniels is quarterbacking for the entire rookie season, I have to believe they're going to have trouble winning games. I just have to. That's the way the history is in this league. So I think they're number 4. But how close can the Giants get? Guys, it's gonna be up to the players in the 22, 23, and 24 draft class. Those are the guys that will determine where the Giants finish this year.
I want to ask you about one of those guys, Dane Belton. I know not a lot of people talk about Dane Belton. Given that Tyler Nubin got drafted in the 2nd round this year, but what is your projection for Dane Belton? 2-part question. First, do you think he starts over Tyler Nubin, and do you think they employ more 3 safety looks in this new Shane Bowen defense?
Okay, so Dane Belton, every time he plays, he's around the ball and makes plays, right?
Yeah.
So the question becomes for all of us, what's his projection? Is he a guy who's best served as a part-time player, or if he plays full-time, does he get exposed as someone who maybe isn't as good if he's out there for a full 75 snaps a game? We don't know that. He's a projection player. At the same time, so is Tyler Nubin, right? He's coming out of school. He's as raw as a piece of celery right now. Now, he played a lot at Minnesota, okay, so he's a very mature college draft choice. And I think he's going to challenge for that starting job, maybe even in week 1. I think he's that good. But he's still a rookie. So, to be frank with you, that's one of my favorite battles of this training camp. Belton against Tyler Nubin. Who's going to start week 1? That, to me, that's one of the golden questions that I have, because I look at the 22, right? The 11 on each side of the ball. I think I have a pretty good idea of almost every spot. But who's the starting safety opposite Pinnock? Is it Belton or Nubin? And I'm almost to flipping a coin on that one right now. I think
Well, you think it's close. I don't think it's that close. I think it's Nubin, but you might have I know you have a little bit more information than what we have.
Well, here's why. You don't know how a rookie's going to react once he actually gets into the pro game.
Okay, when the lights come on.
Nubin, let's just say for argument's sake, I'm going to be hypothetical here, okay? I want to make this clear in case somebody's listening. This is hypothetical. Do not take me out of context, okay? Nubin may have a really good training camp to the point where you might want to start him week 1. What happens when he gets into the preseason games and all of a sudden at full speed with the lights on, it doesn't really click as well? So now what are you going to do? You're going to start Belton or you're going to start Nubin against Minnesota? What are you going to do?
So is it going to be another Trey Hawkins thing?
So that's what happened with Trey Hawkins. Trey Hawkins had a really good training camp. Last in the preseason, they gave him the starting job, and the pool was too deep, right? The pool was too deep. He was in over his head. What happened? Got to pull him out because we rushed him. We rushed him. It was too much too soon. I think Nubin is going to challenge for a starting job. I believe that. Where he ultimately lands with his snaps as a rookie, I think that's a very intriguing question.
Yeah, I think that is.
And in terms of three safeties, again, that may be one of the ways to get all three of them on the field.
To get him on the field, yeah.
That wouldn't shock me at all either. You know, because what you got to figure, what's interesting about Nubin, he's a ball hawk, but he also hits.
Yep.
So-
That's why I predicted him in the second round. I actually have a video predicting him in the second round. Too.
Right. So if you've got him swimming around the secondary like a shark, he's in a position to attack. He could do some things. So I think he would be very intriguing in a three safety set if that's the way they decide to go.
I
Bring
think
him
all
in
three of
slowly.
them are ball hawks. Paul. I think Belton is a ball hawk. I think Pinnock can be a ball hawk at times. So getting
Pinnock-
all three of them on the field would be ideal, I think.
Pinnock's made some plays on the ball. Certainly the Miami interception, for 102 yards for a touchdown was one of those great plays. But I would not call Pinnock a ball hawk myself. Stevie Brown was a ball hawk. Percy Ellsworth was a ball hawk. You go back some years, okay? I don't see Pinnock as a ball hawk. He's not the kind of guy, in my opinion, who's going to ever get 6 or 7 interceptions in a season. Ball hawk's got to be able to get at least a half a dozen picks in a year. I don't think he's that guy.
I think he's that high energy guy for the defense. He's that guy that's going to flow to the ball and make plays. And occasionally, if you do something stupid and throw the ball up in the air and he's in that area, he'll pull it down for you.
Well, that's fine.
He'll go up there and get
that's
it. For you.
fine.
What we're paying him to do.
But I think they drafted Nubin particularly because he is a ball hawk.
Yeah.
Well, trust me, I watch him in the Big Ten. Yes, he is definitely.
He was nasty out there, and
Mhm.
I don't like. Who do you think plays opposite of Dexter Lawrence? Between Nacho, I heard Chapman got some reps today, even though it's the first day of training camp. He's right here in Louisiana, where I'm from. I actually know his family. Who do you think steps up? Is it Riley? Is it Davidson? Is it Nacho? Is it Chapman? Is it Anderson? Who do you think steps up on that D line, man?
Phillips.
I joined with Sports Illustrated this year to do my own pod for New York Giants on SI. Okay.
Okay.
And the one that I just posted.
Congratulations.
Thank you. The one that I just posted on Monday, yesterday, as a matter of Monday, 2 days ago. I said the 4 questions, and I teased this on Twitter. The 4 questions on defense, okay, where the Giants have not solidified their answers. They don't know exactly who the second starting safety is going to be, and we just discussed that. We don't know for sure who the slot corner is going to be, right? They drafted Drew Phillips, and they're going to give him a shot to be the guy, but we're not 100% sure that he's going to be able to win it. We don't know for sure, okay, who the 3 technique is going to be next to Dexter, and there is a ton of candidates there. And we don't know 100% for sure, and as much as I believe in Cordell Flott, and I really do, we don't know 100% for sure that he's going to be that guy at left corner. Those are the 4 spots that we're not 100% sure of. The other 7 spots on defense, I love. Okay? I love the other 7 spots. There are 4 that I'm not sure who the guys are going to be. But I think this goes back to that projection word.
Yeah.
I think they've got guys who can project into those spots.
Okay.
I don't
Well,
know.
I'm glad that you said that because I wanted to ask a question and nobody else got to it yet. So I'm gonna ask.
Well, let me just say this. Phillips had a pass deflected today, right, on the defensive line. He's one of the candidates who they have there. I think he's more of a nose tackle. I
Me
think
too.
Riley is more of a nose tackle. That's how I see those 2 guys. I don't think they're necessarily 3 technique guys. I have said all along that I think Ryder Anderson has the body type for it. And I think he'd be a candidate that I'm intrigued by.
I've
I
said
also
that too.
remember that Boogie Basham played 3 technique a lot at Wake
Oh
Forest.
Lord.
Okay,
Hey, he made a play today, Pat. He made a play.
he did. He did.
When
At
do
Wake
you-
Forest, Boogie Basham was a defensive end run stopper and a 3 technique pass rusher. When the Bills drafted him, they thought he was going to be a pass rushing defensive end. Well, guess what? That's like going to the counter, ordering a hamburger, and getting a hot dog. Okay? That's not what he is. That's not what he is. So they misused him.
Yeah.
And obviously the Bills contingent here thought enough of what they saw at Wake Forest that they made the trade for him. I'm intrigued by Boogie Basham. I'd like to see him get a shot at 3 technique. I really would.
So I want to ask you, how many linebackers do you think we're running with, and which ones do you think they are?
Well, if you're going to run the 4-3, right, with Thibodeau and Burns as your bookends, and then you're going to have Dexter and a 3 technique up front, and you're primarily going to be with 4, it seems to me you're going to Isaiah Simmons as your 3 linebackers.
So Darian Beavers is a backup?
Right now, Darian Beavers is a backup, and I don't know that he can work his way into the starting lineup, but I loved him when he came out of Cincinnati.
Me too.
I actually talked to Jesse Armstead before that draft and said, that's the guy you need to draft. And I said, I think you can get him in the 5th round. And Jesse was very much aware of who Beavers was. And he gets here, has a great rookie camp, and then blows out his knee. And last year, it was just a long way coming back on rehab, and that's why he was on practice squad for most of the season. I think Darian Beavers can absolutely play this game, and I hope that he shows enough that they can keep him, because I like that kid. I like him a lot.
Well, in speaking on the defense, because you're alluding to an odd front, but when I've ever looked on the website, it's speaking to a 3 front, and that's what's a little bit confused now. Are we multi-set more so, or is it really an odd front versus an even front?
Everything that the players and the coaches talk about is that they're looking at a 4-man front.
Okay.
That's
So
that's what we're hearing. Now, again, this is the first day of camp, fellas. Let's watch the next 6 weeks, okay? Let's watch what they're doing. Let's watch the preseason games. You know, everybody wants to know the starting lineup against the Vikings tonight.
You know what? It's not even that. It's just that I get into the debate with people when I talk about Burns and Kayvon, when I say they're edge, but they're really classified as outside linebackers. There's a difference between a 4-3 edge or end versus an outside linebacker edge. And that is what's so confusing. And when I try to talk to people about it, they're like, no, it's almost the same. I'm like, no, it's not. They're they're too different. Even the 3, even in the odd front, the 3 or the 5 tech, or if you want to say 4 tech, however you want to classify it, they're different. I mean, the only thing that's not the same is when I was younger, you play 2 gap, where now it's more in an odd front, you're assigned to a gap. So, it's a debate with a lot of fans who I try to help educate, but I'm to the point where, you know what, you know more than me. I've been coaching since 1981. So,
coach.
Yeah, so I don't know. I may not coach in the NFL, but I mean, come on, I know something. So
I got a good question.
How many people understand that a wide 9 defensive end is not an edge rusher?
Right.
He's not an edge rusher. And oh, by the way, he's also not an outside linebacker.
No,
he is a wide 9 defensive end. That's what he is.
Thank you. Exactly.
I got a question for you guys. Azeez Ojulari.
Yep.
Mm.
What do you think that his role is going to be? And just like Slayton,
I got a
I think that he
proposal.
makes it through the end of the season.
I got a proposal about Azeez Ojulari. I got a package that I want to see him in.
Mm.
I want to see a package where on 3rd and long, Dexter's down at nose tackle, and you see Azeez Ojulari, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Brian Burns all standing up on the line next to Dexter.
Is that the NASCAR
Mhm.
package?
Mm.
Sort
The
of.
new NASCAR.
NASCAR
Mhm.
package, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Now
Mhm.
the question becomes, and again, it's just an idea because Coach, I'm like you. I look at the game with the coach's perspective. I sit
Mhm.
around here in my office and I'm drawing up diagrams all over the place.
Facts.
Yes. Yes.
You know, I got so many X's and O's here. It's like I could be a tic-tac-toe king. You know, it's ridiculous. And I play with this stuff all the time because I learned from Belichick. You know, when I
Mhm.
came in starting to cover this game, I learned from Belichick and Parcells. So, and I've had great defensive coordinators over the years, including John
Mhm.
Fox, you know,
Mhm.
and Steve Spagnuolo. So I
Mhm.
learned from these guys. So what I like to do in my own head, I like to play with a lot of formations and schemes. And it's like, I wonder what this would be like. Like I say, Ryder Anderson, Boogie Basham. I'd love to try them at 3 technique. One of the things that I'm thinking of is playing this formation. Give me
Mhm.
Dexter Lawrence with his hand in the dirt, stand up the other 3 guys, and I'm not sure where I'm going to put the 3. Who's going to be next to Dexter? Who's going to
Mhm.
be the guy on the left end? Who's going to be the guy on the right end? I'm not sure how I want to do it, but I'm thinking of that. And I'm like, okay. And oh, by the way, maybe I sneak Isaiah Simmons up
Yep.
the line on a
Mhm.
pre-snap count, and now I got 1 guy down and I got 4 guys standing up, and I know that all 5 of them got the ability to get to the quarterback.
Yep.
Mhm.
And
I've been
now
thinking about that too.
and excuse my French, but holy freaking crap, what is the center and the quarterback going to say when they see that?
Mhm.
I'm just
Mhm.
saying, you know, I play with this stuff because I like to do that. And you
Welcome
know,
to my world.
sometimes some of the things that I think about wind up showing up on the field, and sometimes they don't. We'll see.
Yeah. I'm intrigued to see how they're going to use Ojulari. Hopefully his health is intact this season.
Yeah.
But you do some of the same things that we do.
Mhm.
I be coming up with scenarios on the offense and the defense, and it's like, dang, they
Mhm.
actually did it.
Listen,
How do you
outside of
feel about
You know why that's
Giants.com,
good though? Here's why that's great. Because most fans, and certainly the scribes, they just want to complain about what they think is wrong. They don't
Mm.
offer alternatives to fix it.
Mm.
Exactly.
Okay?
Preach.
listen,
Preach.
Look, if you're so smart and you're covering the NFL and you're supposed to be so smart, well, then offer suggestions. Okay? Come up with, don't just say so and so's terrible, so and so should be benched, these guys are no good.
offer
No,
some solutions.
offer
Right.
some solutions. That's what I tell people. I say, listen,
Yep.
if you just want to talk to me on Big Blue Kickoff Live, call me up or hit me up on Twitter and just want me to repeat your hate, then go to the bathroom mirror and scream at that. Because the bathroom mirror will give you the hate that you want. Okay?
There you
If you
go.
come to me, I'm going to give you either a fair evaluation of what you're missing, or I'm going to give you some potential options and
I've
solutions.
got news for you, Mr. Dottino. You are one of us. You are
Mhm. Yes.
You say honorary.
and I'm telling you, outside of Giants.com, outside of what you guys do over there, nobody else is doing this. That's why you feel so comfortable here. Nobody brings you real insight, sports insight from players, coaches, analysts, guys who work for the organization. Nobody is doing this. Everybody is being biased, giving you hate, giving you negative content without giving you any solutions, any feasible options at fixing it. And I just want to thank you for spending so much time with us, giving us your insight, and feeling free to be yourself with us. We enjoy it. We appreciate it. and
Most.
I'm grateful.
You're welcome,
Yeah.
fellas.
Yeah, that's why I always say I want to find out the why.
Mhm.
Why is this happening? Why is that going
Most
down?
people today don't want the why. Most
It's
people
like,
don't want the why. They just want to scream.
Of
yeah,
course.
That's it.
because
They want to complain. They don't want the why, and God knows the scribes aren't going to give it to them.
right, it's terrible. Like if you know the why, then you can start thinking of solutions. And then if you know the why, you can't come up with a solution. Then maybe, yeah, this guy might just not be it. I
I can't tell
help
you
him.
how many times on Big Blue Kickoff Live somebody will call, right? And they'll be furious about Daniel Jones, or they'll be furious about this or that, or whatever the case may be. And they'll be just going off. And I'll let the guy talk. All right, fine. All right. Well, now, first of all, and it's like your premise is based on an inaccuracy. Well, that's the first
Right.
problem. Okay. You've already based your premise on something that's actually not true. Okay. And boy, that boggles their mind. That gets them very, very upset. And then the second thing is, okay, some of what you said, I understand. Okay, I sympathize with your feelings. Okay, you're saying it's so bad. What would you do? Before I say anything,
Exactly.
what is your option? Oh, I don't know.
Hey, you are part of the Big Blue Crew because that's what we go through. So what would you do?
Right? And then it's like, and then I tell them, okay, well, first of all, here's the inaccuracy that you based your foundation on. So here are the facts. All right. This is why this is accurate. And unfortunately, your premise was built on sand. So once we get that squared away, these are the 2 or 3 potential options that you have. Which one would you like? And they can't answer.
Man, that be getting on my nerves, bro. Like,
I mean,
you
this
want
is
me to
what
do
this
everything?
is. This is the way of the world today, fellas. It's the way of the world. It's just like people
Well, see,
they need to go to their bathroom mirror and scream it out there.
but we're doing
that's
our
the only
part.
thing that's going to make them happy.
We are doing our part because look, Alex is a young gentleman from that generation, and he is here with us. He does great content as everyone here does, and we work together and we try to give people real, actual insight and real feasible options to try to fix things. And when we see the things that are error, you know, we try to come up with solutions and give people options. And you know, so I'm glad what we're building here, and I'm glad that you feel comfortable here. Feel free to come back anytime,
Right.
and I'm gonna enjoy the rest of this. So
Oh, fellas, here's the danger now. Now that we have gotten along so well, just be prepared for some of that toxic crap being on your Twitters.
We're used to
Oh,
it.
man,
We're used to it. We're used to
Definitely.
I said that on the show yesterday. I said I don't even go to Twitter no more because they're crazy.
Oh, you know, and it's a shame because I know there's a lot of people out there who actually do want to learn and do want to be educated and do want to understand and do want to think for themselves and would like to get a better feel for the game. I'm sure that they're out there. I know they're out there. I mean, hell, I'm doing this. This is my 42nd season covering the Giants. So
Right.
I know that there are people out there doing it, right?
Give this man his flowers.
Right. But they'll come on your Twitter feed
As
and
long as
tell
it's
you
not
they know
Eric.
more than you. Right.
As long as it's not Eric.
That's a good one.
That's good.
But you got people that come on there and try to tell you they know more than you. You've been covering. You've been in the building for over 40 years.
You know what kills me, fellas? I'll give you the thing that kills me, right? You'll get somebody who calls up and they have a whole negative premise and they're saying this, they're saying that, they're saying that, and they're saying that. And I'll say, okay, so how do you know that this, that, and the other thing are true? And he goes, well, I read it in the paper. And I'll say, okay, but you know that the newspaper writers haven't been on the property for the last 2 months? So how do you know? How do you know what Daniel Jones has looked like during the spring? How
Right.
do you know what Jalen Hyatt's been doing in the offseason? How do you know? You know, and I tell people, I say, look, I tell you what I can tell you because of my job and there are certain things I can't say, right?
Mhm.
I mean, well, no, I'm not. Look, fellas, I don't hide behind that. I work with the organization. I do shows for the organization. I do post game shows on MSG for the organization. So, look, if I know that there's a change in the starting lineup on Saturday, I can't put that out there, right? There are certain things I can't say. But when it comes to football analysis and the facts that are on the field, that are on the tape, I'll tell you what's there. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you know, I defy anybody who wants to go back and listen to this show on the archive. I defy any of them to say that we did not talk about some of the warts and the negatives on this team, because we did.
Right.
We did.
We talk about the whole team.
We
The
did.
whole team.
But what we didn't do was throw a whole freaking carton of hand grenades onto the building. That's what we didn't do,
Yeah.
because
And
that's not productive.
No,
Exactly.
it doesn't help anybody.
I was like, how can you build an
But
organization?
they don't want
This guy-
productive, Paul. The people in today's society, they want to be fucking angry and they want to be negative. That's what America's become. But I'm not going to get into the political aspect.
Brother, I get you. I love the game too much to be that way. That's the problem. I
Right.
love the game. I love the game. I digest the game. I chew on the game. I soak in the game. I love the game. I got no time to be angry. I love the game. I spend too much time analyzing the game than to be angry.
Well, fellas, we've been on here 2 hours and 15 minutes with the
Oh, my
great
God.
Paul Dottino. Didn't know he was gonna hang out with us this
I
long,
gotta go to
but
practice tomorrow morning. What are you
right,
guys
I
doing
know.
here?
Well, I do appreciate you, man. I know you got business to handle tomorrow.
Buena sera.
Yeah. Now, welcome to the Big Blue Crew. You see the whole family here, man. You always welcome. And make sure if any players wants to do some interviews with the Big Blue Crew, you let them know that we're
All right,
here
brother.
for them.
Wait a minute. Look, hold on. Look. I didn't get my 11-6 one time from you.
Right.
Oh,
Come
my
on.
prediction for the season, 11-6.
Come on, Lou.
My
That's
prediction for the season is 11-6. I'm back on my
Really?
prediction.
Wow.
Now you
That's been our prediction.
That's his
Now,
prediction.
wait a
You
minute.
only have
Let me
shirts.
just say this.
Hold on.
Let me just say
Hold on.
this.
Let us let
If you're gonna get 11-6, then
Wait.
every one of those projections better come through in flying colors.
Mr. Paul,
Otherwise, you're not touching 11-6.
Mr. Paul Dottino, I would like to gladly let you know that I also call boxing. I am 13-0 on my fight predictions. What round, who's gonna win, and how?
Yeah, that's true.
I have predicted last year's first round pick. I have predicted this past draft's first round pick, second round pick.
Nice.
Quite a few predictions here. All of us have made quite a few predictions with the Big Blue Crew Sports Network, and I'm a firm believer in speaking things into existence. And I'm gonna
Okay.
keep 11-6
Okay.
until we go 11-6.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, but here's the problem. Unless you rhyme it like Muhammad Ali, it doesn't count.
Okay.
The New Jersey Bricks, the Giants are gonna go 11-6. Let's go.
There you go. There you go, Lou. There you
Hey,
go.
off
Bring
the
that-
top of the dome. That's what we do here, man. But I don't know, Paul, if you ever go to the NFL draft. We go to the NFL draft every year.
Every year.
Yeah, I'm at Giants headquarters for the draft every year.
Oh,
I've
yeah,
never
that
been.
is right.
Yeah, I've never been to the NFL's official
can
draft
Zoom call
location.
into
I'm
you
always at
live from
Giants
the draft.
headquarters.
We can Zoom call into you live from the draft, Green Bay, and give you the scoop because we're always front row. They don't call me Big Lou for nothing.
There you go, guys.
But
Be well, fellas. I got to run.
all right, man. Have a good one, Paul.
All right,
care.
Paul, man. Appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
All right, that was the great P Dot. That's his name when he comes to the Big Blue Crew. He already got himself a
As soon as
nickname.
he saw Zion ass.
Right.
You'll get him.
Man,
on.
he can't even talk. Look at him. He on mute. You're on
Yeah,
mute, sir.
I was on mute. I just wanted to put a face to the name because I used to call him Lance and John and Figos all the time, and just the fact that he came on and that's respect to him. You know what I'm saying? And what's up, everybody? I know it's been a while, but yeah,
What's
when I seen him on, I just want to say what's up. But hey, that's what's up though. Hopefully everybody has a good time. FLSU, we're gonna beat you guys week 1, and that's what's up.
Goodness.
Oh,
But man, I do
love you, miss.
appreciate
I don't care about LSU.
people that come on and they can be themselves with the Big Blue Crew. P. Dot was himself. So we got to see the real Paul Dottino tonight, man, and he enjoyed himself. Man, this was a great stream. I appreciate you guys showing up and showing out. We showed him the whole Big Blue Crew here, and he knows how we rock. Man, thank that guy for coming through and even accepting the invitation that we gave him to come on to the show.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
fellas,
Paul Dottino, man.
it's
Yeah,
been a
real
long night. Everybody, if you missed it, you're gonna see it on the reruns. You can go check it out on me. I think NYG and Lou shared it, right? So you can
No, I
go
put
check
it
it out
on
on. You put it on yours too.
Yeah, I did.
So you can check it out just about on all our channels. You guys got anything to say before we get up out of here?
Only the Big Blue Crew Sports Network
that's right.
bring you real content. No baloney, no fake stuff, no fake news. Everything that we said and we sit here and talk about and debate with knuckleheads about, he came on here and agreed with.
That's a fact.
And
Like
this
he had
man,
some of the same views as
only
us.
2 seasons under his belt.
Mhm.
Sidelines, getting views and seeing plays and practices that no content creator sees.
Yep.
So at some point, you guys are gonna have to understand that we're not just a casual fan. We know what we're talking about. Coach has coached at almost every level except the NFL. I'm coaching Pop Warner. I've played. I've boxed. I don't talk about stuff that I have no information on. Only an ass does that. Nobody here comes out the side of their neck on this panel without insight or knowledge firsthand about what they speaking on.
The research has been done.
Put some
I'm pretty
respect on our
like-
name. You heard?
like Big Lou in his boxing. I'm pretty good with my MMA predictions. I will say that. Not to toot my own horn, but
Ah.
hey, I do want to say this. I know this is an NFL stream, but Coach, I'll probably get at you at Twitter later. But I don't know. I know it's our first season in the Big Ten, but why they got to give us the hardest schedule known to mankind? I just don't understand it.
Because you're the mighty Because you're the mighty USC. Nah, you the USC.
forgot you
So
USC
no,
fan.
no,
Miller
no.
Moss will
You
be
stepping
fine.
up to the big boys now. You stepping
Fair
up to the
enough.
big boys. So
We open at LSU and we get Michigan in week 3, and then we play Nebraska and Washington and all those powerhouses.
You know what? My Scarlet Knights for the longest while since day one have always had Penn State, Michigan,
Yep.
Ohio State every year.
Every year. That's
Welcome
crazy.
to the club, brother.
I know.
And you're stepping up, and now it's trust me, it's about ready to get real. So we about ready to see USC. Now look, y'all
I
recruit,
just hope we win 6 games.
y'all should be all right.
Yeah.
Hey,
happening
y'all
in Rutgers.
quarterback. That quarterback
Miller
is
Moss.
nice too.
Miller Moss
That
is nice.
quarterback is nice.
Absolutely. Miller Moss
I
is a
don't
good.
think it's going to be a huge drop off.
We got Zachariah Branch too to throw the ball to with Deuce Robinson, but I can talk that for days. I know you're about to.
I'm going to say
kinda
this.
late.
I'm going to say this because your defense better be on par because the Big
Bear
Ten
Alexander.
teams are going to come and they're going to punch you in the face.
He asked y'all if y'all had any. Damn, punch him in the face, coach. Let's go.
No, it's a football.
Hey, a cornerback. So I'm still. I don't know about a linebackers yet. I do love Bear, the transfer from Georgia.
Hey. Well,
All
we
right,
gonna get out of here.
Yeah. You know what? You and I, we'll talk later.
We'll talk.
We'll talk later.
Hey,
Absolutely.
but
Miss, who we punching?
Nobody.
It's a football
USC.
terminology. Punch them in the face. It means get physical in football. That's what it means.
Okay. I thought somebody said some
But
slick shit.
salute to Paul Dottino, man. It feels good to talk to somebody with some real insight that's not trying to push a narrative, that's not, doing this for clicks and views and different things like that, man. So salute, man, to Paul Dottino, man, and the whole Big Blue Kickoff.
Damn it! I forgot to ask him about Madeline Burke.
Oh my God.
There you go, bro. There you go.
And on that note, if you miss P-Dot, you know what you got to do. Welcome to the Gulag. We out.
Looks like we got another one! On the ground! This is the Gulag. In here, you fight to win back your life. Gates!